Okay, so in this video, I'm going to show you how to conserve some system resources by freezing or committing tracks. This is a relatively new feature in Pro Tools. If you had it just a few years ago, they didn't have this, so it's kind of a big deal at the moment. But the basic idea is that anytime you have software like uh, plugins or like instruments or effects, that uses up your computer's resources. Playing audio back actually uses a lot less computing power. Now, you can see here I have the entire Billie Jean session charted out now with instruments. I'm using Expand for most of them. I decided to use Vacuum for my bass line, and I decided to go with a more synthy style of Billie Jean. I did not try to replicate the original sounds, and here is a little bit of what it sounds like. Almost like a chiptune kind of thing. Now, Expand and Vacuum actually do not take up a lot of processing power. But if you had more advanced plugins, like the Native Instruments plugins, or something large like that, that would take up a lot more processing power. Anything that's sample-based takes up a lot of processing power. And sometimes you'll get these errors that keep popping up saying that your CPU it has an overload or whatever. So one of the most effective ways to get around that is to convert these tracks to audio. A lot of different ways to do it. I'm going to show you two of them. So first of all, on every instrument track, you'll see this little snowflake here. And if I just press the snowflake, it's rendering it, and boom, you can see that it is now audio. It's temporary, okay, but there it is. You can see the audio waves over top of their corresponding MIDI notes. Now, one thing you cannot do is edit. I can't make any changes to this file, all right? I can't even trim it or cut it or anything. It is frozen. You also see the blue snowflake in the top here indicating that there's a frozen track in the session. And you can freeze multiple tracks at once. If I click and shift click and then right click, I can choose freeze. And there you go, it froze multiple files. If I want to make changes, I can simply click the snowflake again to unfreeze, much faster process. I could make a change and then refreeze. There you go. So that is one way to conserve resources. When a track is frozen, it plays back as audio. If I had multiple inserts on here, for instance, if I had an EQ and I had a compressor, then when I freeze, it will freeze those effects as part of the chain. And you can see the frozen indicator there. Now there's another way to do this, and that is the commit button. If I right click on the clip here, I can choose commit. And commit allows you to choose from several options. I can either commit the selection or the entire track. In this case, both are the same, but if I had multiple clips in here, I could choose just one clip or the entire track. If I had multiple clips, I could consolidate them all into one. I could also choose to render or commit the volume and mute automation, panning automation, all of these things. And then down here, source tracks. You can either choose to do nothing with this, it'll stay as it is. You can choose to hide it and make it inactive. It'll still be available in your tracks list, and you can always reactivate it. You can choose to simply make it inactive but remain visible in your session. Or you can delete the track, which I do not recommend because once you delete it, you can't make any changes. I'm just going to choose do nothing. I'm going to make sure offline is checked and hit OK. There you go. And as you can see, it actually made a completely new track. It's an audio track. This was called lead melody, so this is called leadmelody.cm. And that .cm indicates it's a committed file. It's no longer MIDI, it's audio. And I can choose to then right-click and make this inactive. And now the computer is not using any processing power on this track, and it is simply playing back an audio file, which is very easy for the computer to do. Another thing you can do that's kind of handy is, let's say you wanted to commit the expand plugin, but you still wanted to tweak the EQ and compression. You can actually right-click on the plugin and choose commit up to this insert. You can do the same thing with freezing, and it will commit up to that insert while still allowing for EQ and compression or whatever other plugins you have. You still get to control those. So freezing, committing, nearly the same thing. They really do the same thing. Different people use them in different workflows, but they're both very handy to have for freeing up some computer processing power, especially if you have some heavy-duty plugins in your session.